Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So, tearing out a fun and exciting video for you guys today, and one that you've been asking me about basically all weekend. That is because in like the last 48 hours, two different Xbox 360 recomps popped up, Blue Dragon as well as a Dragon Ball Z game. Apparently Dragon is the name of the game and theme on this video, and they were both done by a new GitHub repository application called RexGlue, which is basically taking the PowerPC code off the PowerPC chip for a 360 and then real-time recompiling it as a portable C++ code that can obviously run on native CPUs, AMD, and Intel as well. So I'm going to explain exactly what this is doing and what it isn't doing, because there did seem to be some confusion over the weekend as to exactly what RexGlue is trying to accomplish. It is a very promising application, but at the same time, it might not be exactly going as far as a lot of people think it is. Before you get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. And just so you know, you are watching footage based upon these recomps right now. So if you go over to the actual GitHub repository, and I will leave a link in the description below, you will see here that it is very early in development. But what a lot of people kind of got tripped up on and didn't realize, especially the ones messaging me, is this is not a full recompilation. It is still using parts of Xenia in the background, basically for all of the graphic side of things. The game code going from PowerPC to C++ is an impressive feat in and of itself, but I don't want you to think that this is a full static recompilation of every single component that makes an Xbox 360 and Xbox 360. You will see right in the text there, they say RexGlue is heavily rooted on the foundations of Xenia, the Xbox 360 emulator. So this is kind of a hybrid approach of recompilation as well as using emulation under the hood, which is something when people talk about Sonic Unleashed, it is not doing. So I want you to be aware the recomp of Sonic Unleashed, which we're going to talk about again maybe in a week or so, is doing things differently than what RexGlue is doing. Now, I'm not saying it's negative that RexGlue is using parts of Xenia. I'm just giving you the information so that you're more well aware of exactly what RexGlue is trying to do and what it is offloading to more of a softer emulation environment. But the reality is RexGlue could be useful for the future as kind of a hybrid approach. But the thing is, because it is using the underpinnings of Xenia, any sort of graphical or audio glitches you would get in the most recent version of Xenia, you will see come over to any games that are running on RexGlue as well, at least this point in time. And I would say it is a fun demonstration, it's fun to talk about, but as far as actually sitting down and playing the two games based on RexGlue, they aren't fully playable, they definitely have glitches, and they're not ready for prime time yet. Although I'm not saying that the developers said they were ready for prime time, I'm just giving you guys a little bit of background information versus something like Sonic Unleashed where you can just sit down, play it from start to finish, and absolutely see just how insane something like a static recompilation of Xbox 360 games can be. Because decomps, recomps, and PC ports are all the rage right now, and you're definitely going to be seeing a lot more projects trying to actually crack that code as far as getting these things made quicker is concerned. Though I will say trying to build this thing absolutely straight up something that I failed out every single time I tried. So 99 out of 100 times I do something, I am perfectly fine, I figure it out, maybe I have to poke through it here or there, but there's always 1 out of 100 things that absolutely just does not seem to want to work on my Windows system, so I send it to the channel's very best Andy D to try to get it to actually build, and he had the same issue I did, basically just failing all over the place, or if you could get it to build, he had audio but not any sort of video in the background, and considering a lot of the video is being done by Xenia under the hood, that could be an emulation problem or just something not building correctly. So my point is that if you actually want to try to sit down and play the two games based on RexGlue right now, it's not going to be something that I really recommend anybody to play around with. This is a proof of concept sort of situation where you can just kind of see what they're actually trying to do in the background. And I just obscured a couple usernames there on the account just so you know that's what's underneath the little pink bars. And again, this is the type of process, if you're not familiar with building things from different GitHub repositories, I wouldn't really recommend you try for anytime soon. But there is a plethora of information on Twitter as this actually working for some people, and you'll see here this is the Dragon Ball game. Maybe not the most exciting game in the world to see as a recomp, but one that is working at least for some people, and you'll see there it's running at 120 frames per second, and at least as far as I'm familiar with this game, maybe it seems like it's actually running too fast in the actual internal engine logic, but it's been maybe 20 years since I even remembered this game exists, so leave me a comment down below and you tell me if this is full speed or not. I figured I would just ask you guys. But honestly, RexGlue can be a promising thing for the future, because PowerPC code is not going to natively execute on anything like an x86 architecture or even ARM, and even though it's focusing on C++ code right now, It's one of those things that could be expanded to cover other territories and other regions, and that really is a lot of the difficulty in actually doing static recomps. If you're dealing with hardware that has a completely different instruction set than a modern actual computer, then that is something that you need to basically recompile so that your computer hardware, especially the CPU, is actually able to ingest that data and execute that code. But of course, that is just the game code. You still have all the audio, all of the actual video, trying to get those GPU calls transposed over something modern, and that's why they say that Xenia is underpinning a lot of what RexGlue truly is. And that seems to be, again, what confused a lot of people. They thought this was something like an N64 Recomp or even Sonic Unleashed in the way that it works, and I think that actually trips a lot of people up as to what exactly a static recompilation even means. They hear static recomp and they think 100% of a game has been recompiled to work on PC, when in this instance, it is only the actual game code going from PowerPC to C++ code that is recompiled as it launches. Everything else is basically going to be done completely separately, and this is not using Xenon Recomp tool, which is what Sonic Unleashed is based on. And if you had to ask me, obviously Xenon Recomp tool is further ahead because we have something like Sonic Unleashed working on PCs, looking better, playing better, sounding better, and running at absolutely insane frame rates at higher resolutions than the Xbox 360 could ever support. But there definitely is a place for RexGlue. It's just one of those things. The amount of misinformation I got in my messages really made me kind of wait until Monday to talk about this, so I could really kind of think about exactly how I wanted to present it to you. It's important to understand how things work even at the end. If you can play a game and you can't tell it's running on a recomp, basically people think it is magic. But sometimes that idea of magic kind of obscures the actual tech underlying how all of these things work, and people seem to think that every static recomp is doing the exact same thing as every other one they've played. And then we even have the decompilation-based PC ports, which are not statically recompiling anything whatsoever. Those are code ports to a new system. So again, I know I keep saying it, I am working on it in the background. I will have a video explaining exactly what the difference is between a static recomp and a PC port, and now there will be an extra layer with something like RexGlue, only actually statically recompiling portions of the hardware. And don't get me wrong, Xenia is a good emulator, but it is still something that is in active development, and you're as likely to hit games that don't run whatsoever or have severe graphical glitches as you are to find a game that plays 100% perfectly fine. So underpinning something like this to Xenia might be an issue because it's going to have to wait for Xenia to get better in the future. You'll see here on Twitter, a lot of people have been talking about this and giving different demonstrations, and it is absolutely still a promising kind of technology and concept as to how to play Xbox 360 games on PC. Because if you can statically recompile the game code, that is going to be more efficient and probably more accurate than using something like Xenia actually moving forward into the future. But I get so many different comments on different decomps, recomps, and PC port videos as far as what Xbox 360 games people would love to see, and Blue Dragon is basically always mentioned. Maybe that is why it's one of the 2 recomp demonstrations that is actually being seen on something like RexGlue currently. Leave me a comment down below and you tell me, is Blue Dragon a game worth playing or not? Because it's one of those things, I've never actually played it in my life. When this game came out, I was traveling for work a lot and just didn't get a chance to play a ton of video games. I knew it existed, I just never actually played it, and to this day, I haven't played it, so you tell me down below if it's something I should actually spend my time on in the future. But the nice thing is the future of Xbox 360 static recomps is definitely looking bright because we have the Xenon Recomp tool for Sonic Unleashed, and now we have RexGlue, which is doing something like a hybrid emulation approach. And there's so many good, amazing Xbox 360 games out there, and even though Xbox 360 hardware is quite cheap and modding it to play whatever you want is basically free at this point in time, getting better graphics and better frame rates out of Xbox 360 era games definitely would be a nice thing, including those internal rendering resolution bumps. But it's definitely a case-by-case basis. Every single game needs a lot of work. Don't think that a tool is ever going to be a one-click static recompile and suddenly an executable for that game comes out and it runs perfectly. That is something that I definitely like to comment on in videos. Some people think, again, that static recomps are nothing more than magic when there's a tool there, like you just drag and drop it and the entire application does everything for you. It still requires a lot of man hours to actually get anything running, let alone to the point in time where I'd recommend overplaying something like the actual Xbox 360 version. So will RexGlue actually become as good as something like Sonic Unleashed when it comes with performance? I really don't know, but you know full well I love me some big decomp energy, and it is something I'm going to be following along with in the future. But as far as why I didn't make the video over the weekend, one, I wanted more information to come out, so I knew I was more accurate in my representations of what RexGlue could and couldn't do, and two, it was the weekend and I didn't feel like making a video. But I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.